Howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Unreal Playground. It's been a long time since we last talked. I just got off some big industry gigs, so I apologize for not being around, but better late than never, as they say. Welcome back to episode 8 of our open world RPG that we're creating. Today, we're going to be making a backpack. Let's get started. Alright, so first off, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead right click, go to Blueprint Class, and go to Static Mesh Actor. We're going to call this Backpack Master Blue. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up the Backpack Master Blue. And then we're also going to go ahead and open up our third person character. Now, inside of our third person character, we're actually going to copy over a lot of functionality to our Backpack Master. So let's go over here to Find Stack, start off. Go ahead and get a copy of all this, Control C, go over to Backpack Master Blue, create a new function, call it Find Stack, then paste. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect Find Stack to For Each Loop with Break. And then we're going to grab the break survival slots here. Let me bring it over just to keep things kind of nice and neat. Survival slots into Find Stack, and then we have survival slots. And we're going to rename survival slots. We're going to rename survival slots to item. Now this is extremely important, so pay attention to this part closely. So, as you can see here, we have grayed out variables here. So, how are we going to bring back these variables? First, we're going to go ahead and right-click this, create local variable for local found, create local variable for local index, and create local variable for local amount. Now, going to player slots, you may think we're going to create a local variable for player slots. We're not. We're going to go ahead and create a variable for player slots. Not local, but create variable for player slots. So if you followed what I was saying, what you can now do is you can now save and compile, and you should get no errors. Yep, we got no errors. We're perfect. So next, we're going to go ahead and go back to our third person character, and let's get find empty slot. Inside of find, oops, sorry. It looked weird. I knew it looked weird. So inside of our find empty slot, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. Copy, create a new function, find empty slot, and paste. And once again, we're doing the same thing here where we're connecting our function to for each loop of break. And then we're going over to local found, create local variable, and then go to local index, create local variable. Everything should have some color. Go ahead, save, compile, no errors. Awesome. Moving on. Next, we're going to go over the third person character again. Go to remove amount at index. We're going to go ahead, copy. Make sure we got everything. Control C, Backpack Master Blue. Making sure I have everything. New function, remove amount at index. Paste. Alrighty, folks. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and connect, remove amount at index to our branch. And then we're going to connect this index over to our, whoops, what the heck? Whoops, I guess it's still installing my new Unreal. Yeah, I'm installing 5.2, dang it. Crap. Sorry about that, folks. Unreal Engine 5.2.1 was installing, so I'm always excited for the new engine update, but I guess it finished at the wrong time. So let's get back to it. So let's get our index here and connect it over to our remove index over here. And then let's go ahead and connect our index over to here, like so. Now, if you're not using pins, what you're then going to do is you're going to get your index and drag it over to this index as well. And then we're going to get our amount. We're going to go ahead and drag this one over here to our remove amount at index, like so. And now we're going to rename this B here to amount. And let's go ahead and save and compile. No errors. Awesome. Now, if you do feel like, you're missing stuff or whatever, remember, just use third-person character as a reference because that's where we're getting a lot of our functionality from for a backpack master here. All right, moving on. Okay, next we're going over to our third-person character again. We're going to remove item. And we're going to go ahead, copy all this. Go back to Backpack Master Blue, create a new function, remove item. I believe that's what I called it. Yes. All right. And paste. Okie Now what we're doing is we're going to remove item, drag it over to find stack, get the item here, drag it into remove item, and we're going to take our item here and then drag it into survival slots. And now if everything is working good, you could be able to save and compile. All right. Now finally, we're getting one more function here, and it's add item to player equipment. Let's go ahead now and go over and copy all of this. Copy, Control C. Making sure I got all of it again. Paranoid like that. Then create a new function. Add item to player equipment. And paste arena. Now, since this isn't exactly player equipment, given the fact that it's a backpack master, I just named it so that way it's easier to remember what we're transferring over here. But instead of naming it add item to player equipment, what we're going to do is we're going to rename it. We're going to rename it to, let's see, we're going to name it to add item to player backpack slot. Next, let's go ahead and connect our add item to player backpack slot. This set here, get local item, add it to here, and local index, add it to here. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and rename these two into item and rename this into index. Cool. Now we can't forget that these two here are grayed out as well as our other variables. So what we're going to do is right click, create local variable, and then create local variable for both of these. Now if you got it right, we're going to go ahead and save and compile. Cool. Next, we're going to go back to our third-person character and we're going to go ahead and get the add item function now. What we're going to do is we're going to get all this over here, copy, And create a new function, add item. Paste. And what you're going to see here is that we have an error going on. Now don't freak out. We're going to fix it right now. Let's go ahead first and connect our add item to find stack. Let's also make sure that we create our item. So we're going to drag it into item here, like so. And then we're going to go ahead and disconnect this one. Also disconnect this one as well. And we're going to go ahead and promote to local variable for local item. Oops, I think I messed it up. Sorry about that, folks. Like I said, right click, create local variable. I think that's what I did wrong. Not bad. We're going to go ahead now and drag our local item here. That local item. Drag it here, 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 and here. Actually, sorry. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this one and reconnect it here. Okay, but we still got that red thing. We're going to take care of that in just a second. We got 2 of them. We'll take care of it in just a second. So in order to fix this, what we're going to do is we're going to go to add item to player backpack slot, bring it up here, and now we got a new function. What we're going to do is we're going to drag this true function into add item to backpack slot, like so. And then we're going to connect all the other variables and functions into each other here. So we're going to go ahead and drag up the local item into here, then drag the index into here, like so. What then I'm going to do is get this, bring it up to here, success. We're actually going to bring the success to this branch and the success over here. And now we can actually delete the add item to player equipment here. We're going to delete this. Okay, and then it's the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and go to add item to player backpack slot. Grab that, get that function, connect the true to here. We're doing the same thing as we did just up there. Connect the item up here. Index goes back into this index. Delete the equipment. Can reconnect the success here. Bring this down. And we should have no more problems. Let's hope and pray Unreal works here. Save, compile. Perfect. No errors. Sweet. We are set up. Now, this next part is up to you. So what we're going to go do is we're going to go over to player slots here. And now you see that we have 0 array elements. Think of the array elements as the amount of items that you can put inside of your backpack. Let's say that you want 15 to 20. If you want 15 to 20 items in your backpack or slots in your backpack, you need 15 array elements. For this, I'm going to go ahead and do 10 array elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. No, fuck it. I'm going to do 15. Use my language. Seems more reasonable. 15 array elements. Oops, I actually got 16. Let's go ahead and just remove one of them. You know what? I'll keep it. It won't hurt. Let's now expand this. And by expanding this, we'll see that it's connected to the item database and it's empty. So when this generates, it will generate empty slots and empty items for all 16 of my slots. So so after that you compile and save. Now comes the fun part, is adding your own backpack. So I downloaded mine off of Sketchfab, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go over to static mesh component, and then I'm gonna go get the one I just got off of Sketchfab. Here it is, backpack, static mesh. Obviously, it's gonna be different for you, depending on what you download or what you create. Obviously, you creatives out there, you can make your own backpack, whatever you gotta do. For the sake of this video, I'm just gonna keep it nice and simple. I'll have this uh, example backpack that I downloaded off of Sketchfab. Now, what we're gonna do to make sure that our backpack's to scale, because we don't want a giant backpack or a tiny backpack on our character. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to our content drawer here. We're gonna go Backpack Master Blue, drag it in, see how big it is. Luckily, my backpack is actually a pretty decent size to my character. Let's see. Yeah, that works out. However, it may not work out for you. It may not be this small for you. So if you're asking, well, why isn't my backpack that small? What you're then gonna do is, if the backpack, let's say, is like super large, like as big as that RV over there, what you're then gonna do is you're gonna go back to your content drawer. You're gonna go over to Backpack Master Blue, reopen it, and you're gonna start scaling. You're gonna scale down until you have the right size scale that you want that matches your character. Okay, now if you need to take a moment to scale your backpack, get it to the right size you want it to, do that. Go ahead, pause this video, and do that. Because right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on. Okay, here we go. Moving on. So what we're going to do here is we're going to right click, go over to blueprints, and we're going to get a blueprint interface. And we're going to call it pickup underscore interaction. Okay, let's open it up. And we're going to rename our first function, our new function here, to pickup interaction. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to inputs here. We're going to go ahead and call this character. Character. And then we're going to go ahead and get third person character as an object reference. Compile, save. Now what we're going to do is we're going to minimize this. We're going to go over to our pickup master. Inside of our pickup master, we're going to go over to class settings. And then we're going to go to implemented interface. No, there's no interfaces right now. We're going to go ahead and add one. We're going to go ahead and get the pickup interaction interface. Click on it, add it. Go. Now before we can do anything else, we're going to go ahead and compile, save, and then we're right click, and we're going to look up pickup interaction, and we're looking for an event. We're looking for event pickup interaction. Add that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, drag this out, and add item. Now let's get the item here from survival slots. Get item, drag it into here. Our source is going to be the ground, because that's obviously where we're picking up items from, is the ground. Next, we're going to go ahead, upon success, we're going to get a branch. And from the branch, we're going to get a destroy actor. Okay, let's go ahead and compile and save. Now, let's go over to our third person character, which I've minimized, but if you haven't minimized it like I have, which some of you may or may not have done, that's okay. Just open up your third person character, and now let's go over to our event graph. Yes, our event graph. Go over to cast to pickup master over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get all of this here and delete it. Next, what we're going to do is drag out here and we're going to do pickup interaction message. Now for the target, we're going to go ahead and drag the target over to our hit actor on break hit result. And for our character, let's get a reference to self. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to get a new variable. And we're going to call it equipped backpack. And of course, it's not going to be a Boolean. We're going to go to backpack master blue object reference. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to our backpack master. And now let's go over to our event graph. Actually, I don't think we have to go to event graph. I think all we have to do is go to the details over here and go to tag. What we're going to do inside of a tag here is we're going to go ahead and add a tag. Sorry, I completely forgot. We got to go over to class defaults actually. We got to go over to class defaults, go look for tag in class defaults, add a tag and call it pickup. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to class settings, go over to interfaces, implement interfaces, add pickup interaction. Excuse me. Pickup interaction. Compile, save. We're now going to look for in the event graph event pickup interaction. Now from character, we're going to go ahead and get the equipped backpack variable, like so. Drag out, get is valid with the one with the question mark. Get the is valid. We're going to go ahead and drag the execute here to our event pickup interaction. Then we're going to go ahead and set equipped sorry, not from is not valid, from character set equipped backpack and connect it to is not valid. I was a step ahead. And from the equipped backpack, we got to get a reference to self. All right, let's go ahead and compile. Oops. Uh-oh. Oops, sorry, I messed up there. Actually, what we're going to do is I forgot to compile third person character. That's why I can't find it. Save. Compile again. There we go. My bad. All right, we're going to go ahead and go over now to our content drawer, UI inventory panel. Next, let's go over to the text and let's go ahead and, oops, my bad. Go over this text here. Create a binding, like so. From here, let's go ahead and pass to third person character, like so. Let's get owning player pawn. And then let's go over here, get equipped backpack. Then from here, you can check is valid. And now from here, we're gonna go ahead and get the execute, connect to here, valid, connect to here. We're gonna make a copy of this return node, paste. That way we get two separate messages. And now for this, we're gonna go ahead and put in the valid one. We have backpack. And then we put have no backpack in the is not valid. Like so. Compile and save. We're gonna go now to the event graph. Go over to our third person character here. We're gonna go ahead and go over here, bring this back a little. Get equipped backpack. Like so. From here, check if it is valid. Connect the is valid here, like so. Now from here, we're gonna get player slots. Go ahead and remove these slots here. Connect it to array, like so. And then we're gonna go ahead and connect the is valid to this right here, like so. Now just to ensure everything is working, we're gonna go ahead and compile, save, go ahead and press play. Go over to our backpack. Well, first actually let's check if we're even getting what we want. So press I. We have no backpack. Okay, so that's good. Go over to our backpack. Excuse me, press E and then press I. We have backpack. So we are obviously equipping and not equipping our backpack. So that's good. We want that. So everything's working right now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go over to our third person character. And then we're going to go over to add item. And now we're going to go ahead, take all this here, bring it out a little further so that way we can make some room here. We're going to go and drag over our equip backpack, get equip backpack, drag over is valid. Okay. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect the executable to ground. And then if it's not valid, we are dragging it over to find stack. From equip backpack, we're going to go ahead and add item. And an attach is valid to add item, like so. And then we're going to scroll down, get our local item, attach it to here, like so. Next, let's go ahead from success, get a if branch. Move this back a little bit more because we're running out of room here. It's getting a little cramped for my liking. Branch like that. And then from here, let's get a quick copy of our return node. True, drag it up, check it. Now, if it's false, we're going to drag it over to our find stack, find a stack in our character instead of our backpack since we don't have a backpack. Let's go ahead and compile and save. Now, if you have this, basically our backpack functionality is complete. What we can then do is we can pick up some like logs here. Let's go ahead and pick up some logs. And what's happening is it's being added to our player equipment rather than our player stacks, rather than our stacks. But if we go over and grab a backpack, we now have a backpack, and now stuff is being added to our backpack. Cool. But obviously, we're not done here. We obviously need that backpack to end up on our player. So let's get started on working on that next. Alright, so now that we're done setting up some of our functionality for our backpack here, what we're then going to want to do is, so we're now going to set up the backpack to attach to our character. Now, the problem with our backpack mesh is that it has collision, so as soon as it attaches to our player pawn here, what it's going to do is going to send our player pawn into the stratosphere. So what we want to do is we're going to open up content drawer, we're going to go over to our backpack master blue, open that up, and inside we're going to go over to our viewport here, go over to Backpack Master Blue. Let's go ahead and go over to, gosh, I'm missing it here. So what we're going to do is select on our static mesh component here, or you can select it in the viewport, up to you, really, it doesn't matter. You go over to collision, and on collision, you'll see collision presets. Go ahead and change it to custom. Now, inside of here, go ahead to go to the drop-down menu of collision presets, and inside you will see all these options. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to set this check mark right here from block over to ignore for our pawn. Our pawn is our player, so if you're looking for your player, it's the pawn. If you're looking for other things like vehicles and destructibles, that's another different thing entirely if you want to add a little extra to it. But right now, we're just selecting to ignore our pawn, so that way when this attaches to our pawn, it won't mess with our pawn's mesh. So go ahead and compile and save. Now, another thing I was thinking of just right now when I'm talking about collision and stuff, let's say, for example, that your backpack came in separate parts. Like, for example, the backpack here was its own, the backpack body was its own separate mesh, the straps were its own separate mesh, this pocket here was its own separate mesh. Let's say you had like three different meshes that you had to set. What you would then do is you would go over to each of those single meshes, like you go over to the straps, for example, and you would do the same thing that we did here. Since my backpack is one mesh, I then set it to, I only have to do this once. But if you have three meshes, like straps or whatever, or more, really it depends on what kind of model you downloaded or what you're using, you have to set each of the collision presets to ignore pawn. Also, let me show you something real quick before we move on with the next part of our tutorial here. So I'm going to go to play real quick, and then I'm going to go over to our backpack mesh. As you can see, it completely ignores our pawn, which we want. However, some of you may be making like a realistic game or whatever, and you may be saying, well, I want my player to be able to interact with the backpack. So if I walk into the backpack, it stops me from walking into the backpack, or I make the backpack move. So I'm going to teach you the basics on how to set that up so that way there is collision for your backpack. I'm going to show you that right now. So first things first, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back, open our Backpack Master Blue, and let's go over to our event graph. Inside of our event graph, we need a static mesh component. So let's drag the static mesh component from here, bring it in here, static mesh component. You're going to drag out, and then you're going to set collision response to a channel. This one right here. Now for the two options in the channel section here, you got world static, right? You're going to set this to pawn instead, and you're going to set the response to ignore if it's not already ignored, and then you're going to connect this section here to the equip backpack set, like so. Now, as soon as you do this, it should work. It should work. So let's go ahead and compile and save. Now let's go back into our game here and let's see if this works. Whoops, something is wrong. Let's take a look at that. So what I forgot to do is I forgot to actually go back to our static mesh component. Now this is only, once again, if you want collision on your backpack before you pick it up. So what you would then go back and do is instead of pawn, you would hit it. You would go to block pawn instead of ignore pawn. So that way, after you pick this up, after you equip the backpack, then it ignores your pawn. If that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully it does. I'm not going to show that right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and no, I'm going to keep it. It doesn't hurt me. But this is what the blueprint would look like for that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the socket for our backpack, so that way our backpack can go on our back, or whatever you want it, or wherever you want it to go, depending on what character you have or whatever. If you have a different character folder structure, or you have a different mesh, follow along with your mesh rather than mine. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to just do this. I'm going to go over to third person character, edit third person character, and inside of here, I'm going to go over to the mesh, and I'm going to go over to SK mannequin, excuse me. Open that sucker up. So now this is the character I'm using right now, and this is where we're going to change the socket up. Okay, so now this part's extremely important. So let's go ahead and find ourselves a bone here that we can create a socket for. Spine 3 is pretty good. Spine 2, I like spine 3. So let's go ahead on spine 3, right click, add socket. Now this is important that you make sure you know what you're naming it. That includes capitals and lower cases. So let's go ahead, add socket, and we're going to go ahead and rename our socket here to backpack underscore socket. Now I need to remember that underscore as well. If you're a forgetful person, what I say you do is you actually go over here and you go ahead and double click, make sure the name is highlighted, go ahead and copy. That way it's in your clipboard and ready for you to go, as soon as you're ready to start creating some blueprints around it. So now let's go, so don't close this yet, just keep this open in the background. What we're then going to do is we're going to go over back to our content drawer here. I'm going to go over to my blueprints here and go back to my backpack master, like so. Go over here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the character here, and I'm going to type out get mesh. Like so. And then what we're going to do, let me actually size this up a little bit so you guys can see this a little better. What we're then going to do is from mesh, we're going to drag out attach actor to component. And if you have this right here, if you have the set collision response to channel, you're going to then actually attach this to this. But if you don't have that, you're going to attach the set equip backpack to attach actor to component, depending on what you have here. So if you have this, attach set collision response to channel to attach actor to component. If you don't have this, you're going to attach set equipped backpack to attach actor to component. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and paste in our socket name. So this is where the copy and pasting really comes in handy here. So Control V, backpack socket. That way there's no misspelling, no errors, nothing like that. It goes directly to my socket. Just to make sure that I did it all right, that should be just fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our rules here, and we're going to go ahead and have these rules snap to target. Go ahead and compile, save. Let's test it out real quick just to see if it comes in right. Here we go. Uh-oh. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and actually, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and break the link pins for a second here, so that way I can do some troubleshooting here. That's the whole point of Unreal. There's a lot of troubleshooting. Compile, save. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Live bug fixing. All right, so go back. All right, so after a few seconds, I figured out the problem here. So it actually has nothing to do with the set collision response to channel or anything like that. It actually has more to do with Unreal 5. So Unreal 5 broke something yet again, typical Unreal 5 moment. So what you want to do is, in order for you to get the backpack to attach to your character, what you got to go ahead and do is you got to go to static mesh component over here, and then you go over to transform, and inside of transform you have static, stationary, and movable. Set the mobility to movable. You go ahead and compile, save, and now when you go and play, you should get something like this. So yes, the camera's weird, we're going to fix that in a second, but as you can see, the backpack is attaching to our socket, so it's working. If we open up our inventory, everything's still working. Things are going well. Also, I just thought of something else as well. I'm thinking of a lot of things here as we make our tutorial. I'm realizing, too, that some of you may have an issue with your mesh becoming gigantic. So I'm just going to pick this up and take a look at the backpack. So the backpack is fine for me because the original size that the backpack came from Sketchfab was very, very good and compensated a lot for player meshes in game. It's a game-ready asset. But depending on if you made your own asset or you're downloading from another source or wherever have you, you may get an issue where the scaling just goes way off, where for some reason the backpack then becomes gigantic. So I'm going to show you a quick fix on how to do that. Although I don't exactly have to do that, I'm going to show that for you guys. So inside of our Backpack Master Blue is where we're going to do our fix. We're going to create a new variable, actually. So what we're going to do is create a variable. We're going to call it scale. And we're going to make this scale, we're going to make this scale variable from a Boolean into a vector. We're going to go ahead and compile and save real quick. So now this is when it becomes subjective to you. I don't have to do this personally, like I said, because my mesh is just fine. But it's dependent on how you scaled your mesh. Like, let's say, for example, you scaled your static mesh down to 0.1. So what you would then do is you would set your scale for X, Y, and Z for 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Then what you would do is you would go back over to your static mesh component here, drag it in to your blueprint like so. And then you would drag out and get set world scale 3D like so. And then from here, what you then would do is you would get the scale variable that you just made. You would go get scale, and then you would attach the scale to the new scale of set world scale 3D, and then you attach set world scale 3D to attach actor to component like so. But because I don't have this issue, I'm not going to do it, but this is the fix for you guys if you guys are having an issue where your mesh is too big, just to save you the headache of having to figure this out on your own. I'm going to put this up here for now. I'm actually going to go ahead and comment it in case I need it later on. Because I may change up the mesh later. I'll let you guys know depending on what I do here. This is just for the sake of the tutorial. Compile and save. So where our problem is coming from, where you're getting your camera inside of your player's body, is actually coming from the Backpack Master Blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over and edit our Backpack Master Blue and our static mesh component. So let's go back down to collision, and inside of our collision you see camera. So right now it's blocking the camera. We're going to go ahead and set it to ignore the camera. Compile and save. But that still doesn't fix the fact that our backpack is coming in sideways on our player. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to our socket here. Go over to our socket. Now we can sit here all day and we can try to kind of guesstimate things, but that's really impractical. So what we're going to do is go over to our socket like so, and we're going to go ahead and add preview asset. What we're looking for is we're looking for our backpack. So there's the backpack. So theoretically, the backpack should be coming in like that, and it is. So what we're going to do is adjust our backpack socket to our liking. So super easy way to get our socket just right here, so that way we're not guesstimating. I'm gonna take off actually okay, bring this down a little bit here. That looks pretty good. I like the look at that. That's looking pretty good for our tutorial. Let's bring it back a little bit here. Now the straps aren't exactly going to line up, but this is just for the sake of the tutorial. You have to kind of adjust based on your mesh. Now, just to make sure that this did work out, I fully believe that this 100% worked, but let's go ahead and check it in game. So let's go over to I'm just going to save on all ends here just to make sure that everything went well. Minimize this for a bit. Let's go ahead and hit play. All right, let's go ahead and grab our backpack. There it is. Perfect. As you can see, the backpack has shown up on our player's back like it should. Awesome, guys. All right, so now another feature that I was thinking of when you're playing survival RPG games is oftentimes a lot of players like to change their backpacks. Like let's say, for example, in the game world, you found a bigger military backpack that has like way more slots than this tiny backpack that we have here. So what I want to create is the possibility to drop our backpack in the game world. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go ahead and duplicate our backpack like so. Let's just pretend that we have 3 different backpacks. Now this is up to you depending on what you want to do, but let's go ahead and go over to our third person character, edit third person character, go into our blueprint here like so. Let's go to event graph, and let's go over and go. Now this is up, like I said, it's up to you what key binding you want it to specifically be or whatever have you. I'm gonna set it for keyboard B. B as in boy. So when I press B, I drop my backpack. So first, what we gotta check is if our equip backpack is valid. So let's get equip backpack from variables down below, get equip backpack, and then type it out is valid. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and drag pressed into the execute of is valid, and then we're gonna go ahead and get our capsule component because I want my backpack to spawn in front of me rather than behind me or like in other places in the world. So good to get our capsule component here, and we're gonna go ahead and drag this out, and we're gonna get world location like so. And then also from capsule component, we're gonna get world vector. I'm sorry, not get world vector, get forward vector. My bad. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply. So we get a little multiplication sign, and we're gonna multiply it by vector multiplied. We're gonna drag this out. So sorry, turn this off on accident. Let's multiply. We're gonna go ahead and in the return value, drag that out. We're gonna go ahead and multiply. And we're gonna right click this B vector here, and we're gonna go ahead and convert pin to integer. So that way we're multiplying by an integer instead. And then what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna make this 200. And then we're gonna drag this out, and we're gonna do addition here. Add. And then we're gonna go ahead and connect these two, like so. Now, let me explain what this is doing. So what this is doing is basically it's finding a location, the engine is finding a location to spawn the backpack 200 units away from our capsule component of our third-person character. So basically, it will spawn in front of us, a little bit of a distance in front of us. Not too far, but enough to where it will spawn it in a reasonable place. Now from is valid, we're gonna go ahead and drag this out, and we're gonna get spawn actor from class, like so. Now the class is the backpack master blue, and we're gonna go ahead and split the struct pin here, split the transform, like so. And then we're gonna go ahead and get the return value here and put it into spawn transform location, like so. Okay, so we're not done here because what you're going to realize is when you drop your backpack, if you had items inside of your backpack, it's going to despawn your items, and that's a big no-no in a survival game. So let's fix that real quick. So in order to fix this, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go over to our backpack master blue, like so. We're going to go over to our player slots in our variables, and we're going to make sure that the instance editable is checked. Compile and save. Oh, and we're also exposing it on spawn as well. Compile and save. So what you're then going to have to do is you're going to go back to your third-person character, and now you will now see on spawn actor backpack master blue, you will see player slots show up. That's good. That means you did it right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our variables here. We're going to go ahead and drag in our equipped backpack here. Get equipped backpack. And what we're then going to do is we're going to go ahead and drag and get player slots from our equipped backpack, like so. And then simply we're dragging our player slots over to player slots of spawn actor over here, like so. And then what we're going to do to make sure that our backpacks despawns from our actor is we're going to go ahead and get equip backpack yet again, get equip backpack like so, and then we're going to go ahead and destroy actor. Connect these two like so. We're going to go ahead now and compile and save. Now, one last thing that I want to do, since all our items have physics in our world, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our Backpack Mr. Blue master here, and then we're going to go ahead and scroll down to... You know what? We'll make it way more easier. Sorry, I mean, go over to our static mesh component. Sorry, my bad. We're going to go over here and go down to physics, and we're going to hit simulate physics. Compile, save. Now we're going to make our backpack a little heavy so that way when we collide with it, it's not like moon gravity and it just flies away. It's going to make it 500 just for the sake of this tutorial. You guys can adjust it later on. That's really up to you. But what you're now going to realize is that when you have the backpack on your player, it's going to simulate physics on your player, and that's not good. You don't want your backpack falling off of you and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix this as well. So from our static mesh component here, so this is once again, if so from our static mesh component, or we can get an entirely new one, really up to you. If you have this, like the scale thing attached to the scale comment attached to attach actor to component, you can easily drag it from here. But for the sake of this tutorial, since I don't need it, I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste. There's multiple ways of doing this. None of them hurt. We're going to go over to here, and we're going to drag out set simulate physics. And now we're going to go ahead and drag this into set simulate physics right here. Compile, save. Now this should fix our problem. All right, so now let's give it a test. Let's go ahead and go hit play. Whoa, our backpack's kind of went crazy there because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of physics and stuff like that, but we can go ahead now, pick up our backpack like so. We can jump around, and as you can see, I'm jumping around and the backpack's not falling off. Now what we're going to do is we go ahead, collect some items like so. We can, inside of our backpack here, we have these pallets that we just picked up. Let's go ahead and now press B. The backpack is dropped. And if we go over to this backpack over here, if we go to I, we have nothing. So basically what we now created is we created unique backpacks. So if we drop this again, like so, we pick this one up. Ta-da! The pallets are still in there, folks. Cool, huh? Let's drop that again. So you could just have a lot of fun with this. And this is where you can create some really unique backpacks. Alright. Alright, so that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for your patience again with these videos. I know it's been a while, and I'm so thankful that you guys stuck around. We will continue to do these as well as the other projects I said that are coming out for my channel. So stay tuned. There's a lot coming. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.